Hi class, welcome to this week's meeting. Today we're going to have a very brief meeting since your speech is due today. So there are a couple of reminders that I'd like to give you before I get started with all the material that I wanted to cover today. First things first, your outline and your anecdotal speech are both due tonight at 11:59 p.m. Make sure that you do submit them at the time that it is due, which is today at 11:59 p.m. It is important for you to do so. We don't want to lose any points in our assignment, so make sure that you do submit it by tonight at 11:59 p.m. Also, I wanted to remind you all that the outline is there's a template online and there's a sample that you can look at so that you can follow along if you're having a difficult time with that. I already have graded all of your discussion posts, so all of your topics have been approved. If there's anything that was not approved, I kind of left a note there. If you have any questions on how to use Flipgrid or how to submit your outline or how your outline should be formatted and all of that, all of them can be found at the very top of our Canvas page. All of those questions in regards to guidelines for submitting outlines and guidelines for actually recording your speech on Flipgrid. So all of that can be found there. I also quickly wanted to go over the rubric that I'm going to be using to grade your speech. So basically how I'm going to grade your speech, what am I looking for and all of that. This past few weeks, you have already, like in the Canvas shows, you have already looked at how to outline, how to create a good introduction, how to create a good conclusion, how to craft your main points and all of that. But I kind of wanted to get more into delivery aspects that I'm going to be looking at when it comes to your speech and what I'm going to be grading. So let me quickly share the screen so that I can show you exactly how I'm going to be grading your speech. So here we have it. And if you go to the assignment, which is right here, so let's start with the outline submission. So it has a rubric that I'm going to be looking at. The rubric should appear on the speed grader, but let me quickly just go to the rubrics tab over here so I can show you what the rubric looks like. So there's the anecdotal speech delivery rubric, which is what we're going to be looking at. So this is for you delivering your speech. So I am going to be looking at 5 different areas. And I'm going to be looking at how those 5 different areas are crafted and executed. So the first area is the introduction. So like we were talking about last week with the parts of the introduction, you have to have an opening or an attention grabber. For this particular speech, I am requiring you to use a quote as an attention grabber. So open with a quote, make sure that you state the story or topic that you're going to be talking about and that you preview the main points in the order that you're going to discuss them. If you do all of that, then you are going to be getting a 6 out of 6. The second thing that I'm going to be area that I'm going to be grading is your body paragraphs. So basically I want to make sure that your body paragraphs are well balanced, meaning that one point is not bigger than the other, that both are equally supported and equally developed. I also want to make sure that you have transitions. So remember last week we talked about transitions being summarizing what you just talked about and kind of like previewing what's coming next. So now that I talked about this, I will talk about this next topic. That's what your transition should be looking at. So if you have transitions, your main points are well balanced, you should be getting a 10 out of 10 when you're executing your speech. For your conclusion, I'm making sure that you restate the importance of the anecdote or the speech that you, of the topic of the speech of your story, that you review the main points and you review the topic that you talked about. So again, if you have any questions as to how an introduction or a conclusion or even your body paragraphs and transitions should be executed, I have an entire video teaching you how to outline. There are pages on our Canvas page that actually walk us through how to write a good introduction and conclusion. And you're probably wondering, why are you telling us to go look at these pages when it comes to, there's just showing us how to outline. It's not really showing us how to deliver it. For the introduction, body, and conclusion, the way that you outline it is the way that it's going to come out when you deliver it. So it's really important for you to check that out. Next thing, I'm going to be looking more at the delivery portion of your speech. So like how well you executed. So the next section is eye contact. So I want to see that you have rehearsed your speech. One of the things that I definitely want to caution you against is reading from your screen. If you think that you can have up your outline on your screen and that you'll be completely fine, try rehearsing it a couple of times before you film it on Flipgrid and see how it goes. But most of the time when I have students putting up their outline on their screen and trying to kind of like use it as an aid for their speech, they end up reading the entire speech off the outline. So I highly recommend you to abstain from putting your outline on your screen and having it there to help you with your speech. It is extremely distracting. You will end up reading from it. So I highly encourage you to not do that. Instead, I encourage you to use flashcards. You don't even have to buy flashcards. You can literally take a piece of paper, rip it into 4 different pieces, and then you have 4 flashcards. They're much easier to handle in your hand. They help you with maintaining eye contact. And it's really, really much easier for you to find the information when you're looking through it. And it doesn't encourage you to read from the paper. So I highly, highly, highly suggest that you use flashcards. And when you are writing your flashcards, make sure that you just write words, phrases, key sentences that you want to remember in your flashcards. Don't write the entire outline out, because again, if you take your outline, print it out, shrink it, and then paste it on the flashcards, you will end up reading from it. So make sure that you only have a couple phrases and keywords on your flashcards that will help you remember parts of your speech in case you forget. With the eye contact area, I'm also looking at the time. Make sure that you stick to the time limits. So our time limits are between 3 to 4 minutes for the speech, meaning that your minimum time required is 3 minutes. The maximum time that you have to deliver your speech is 4. Now, with that being said, if you go over the 4-minute mark by 30 seconds or so, I will still consider you within time. So if you are at 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I will not dock you down when it comes to time. However, if you don't make it to the 3 minimum minutes, you will get a 3 2 on your speech, because I want to make sure that you at least make it to that minimum time mark, which is 3 minutes. And if you make it to that, you'll be fine. You're counted as making it on time. However, if you don't, you will be docked a lot of points. So I highly encourage you to rehearse your speech. Make sure that you know it well, and while you're rehearsing it, you'll kind of get an idea of how much time it takes you to deliver the speech after a couple of times that you rehearse it from beginning to end. If it looks like your speech might be a little too short, or you might be speaking too fast, I encourage you to prepare more material than what you think you'll need. That way, if you end up speeding through your speech, you'll have enough material to at least hit that 3-minute mark. The last thing that I'm going to be looking at is the vocal delivery section. So basically, I'm going to be looking for you being able to speak loud enough for me to hear it. One of the things that I've noticed with technology, or just in general when recording speeches, is that sometimes it is really, really hard to figure out the volume of your speech, like to make sure that you're speaking loud enough, or that you're speaking soft enough not to like blast our ears off, right, if you have earphones in. So what I do is take your phone, record yourself on your phone from the other end of your bedroom or living room or wherever you're at, and then play it and hear yourself to see how loud you are. That will give you a good idea of how your volume is when you're recording yourself. So make sure that I can hear you. Make sure that you pace yourself when you speak. If you tend to be one of those people who tends to speak really fast, I tend to be one of those people myself. If you tend to be one of those people who speaks really fast, try to take more pauses. Write those pauses in your flashcards. You can even like write cues like take a deep breath, take a sip of water, stop, like, you know, just like write yourself those cues in your flashcards so that it reminds you to take deep breaths, to slow down, to pause. Also, I'm going to be looking at that you film yourself standing up with the use of gestures. So my rule for filming speeches is that I need to see you from halfway of your from basically your waist up. So I need to see you from your waist up, so that I can see your gestures and your face expressions. You don't need to film yourself. You don't need to film your entire body, because I know that that can be challenging and, you know, kind of confusing. I just need to see you from your waist up so that I can see your hand gestures, your body language and your face expressions. Also, make sure that you stay away from using too many vocal fillers. My rule is that if in 3 to 4 minutes of your speech you have more than 10 vocal fillers, then you need way more rehearsing for the next time around. So make sure that when you're rehearsing, you take pauses, you take deep breaths. Vocal fillers usually happen when we feel uncomfortable with silence. So if you time your pauses, if you take a sip of water, if you take deep breaths, it will definitely help you avoid those vocal fillers. So that's what I'm looking at when it comes to your delivery. If you have any questions, make sure you to shoot me an email. I would love to answer any questions that you might have, but that's what the delivery is like. Now, going back to how I will be grading your outline, this is how I will be grading your outline. So basically just looking at the format. So the format is the first area. What I'm going to be looking at is if it follows the Roman numeral format. Again, I have that video on Canvas that I walk you through outlining. We're building an outline together. So definitely check that out. I also have that sample of the speech online so that you can follow the sample to make sure that you're sticking to the Roman numeral format. Make sure that it is at a 12-point font, that you're using Times New Roman font. That is really, really helpful to use that type of font. Mostly for your instructors, because since we tend to read a lot of papers, our eyes start to hurt after a while. So that font is the one that makes it easier for us to read. And also, if you submitted your topic approval, then you're good. Next thing that I'm looking at is the components of the outline. So make sure that you have labeled your transitions, that you have an introduction, body, and conclusion labeled, that you have a title for the speech, and that you have your general and specific purpose at the top of the outline. Again, those are all components that you'll be able to find in either the outline that I walked you through, like my little outline lecture, and also the outline that I have posted online. So if you follow those and you watch those, you should be able to be perfectly fine when it comes to your outline. So that's how I'm going to be grading your speeches. Again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to shoot me an email, but I definitely want to remind you all that your speech is due tonight at 11:59 p.m. Please submit on time. Don't wait until the last minute to do so. Canvas, like any of the other websites, if it has too much traffic, it tends to crash. You want to avoid submitting your assignment late and just putting yourself in that position that will give you more anxiety. The only anxiety that I want you all to be going through, if anything, is just worrying about doing a good job and feeling comfortable while you're delivering your speech. I don't want you to be worrying about Canvas crashing or Flipprint not working or anything like that. So please, please, please submit your stuff on time. I will be sending an announcement after I'm done with class today, just reminding you to, again, submit your outline on time, and submit your speech on time, because you don't want to lose credit. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about today is about next week. So next week is our fifth week of, or fifth week of school, which is unbelievable. I cannot believe that we are already more than halfway through the semester. So next week is our fifth week of school. And next week I will be talking you basically to how to use language to make your speeches, like engaging, to make them worth listening to. We're also going to be talking about how to use the visual aids. We will be talking about the informative speech, which is our next major speech that comes after the anecdotal. And also we will be taking our midterm. So I do have a midterm study guide that I wanted to quickly go over right now before I let you go for today, since I want you to focus more on delivering that speech. But we do have a midterm study guide. Your midterm is going to be multiple choice, true or false, and it's going to be based on the information that I either have lectured here on Zoom or that I have put on the little modules on Canvas, or also information from the textbook. So any of those places are fair game for me to ask you questions in your midterm. You are able to use any of these things to basically answer your midterm. But what I encourage you to do is just print out the study guide and just kind of like go through your book, go through your lecture notes, go through the Canvas modules, answer the questions from the study guide, and that in itself should prepare you for your midterm. You can even have your study guide next to you as you're taking your midterm. I have no problem with you doing that. Also, I wanted to just clarify that if the topic is not on the study guide, or if it's not discussed in here, or if it's not implied in the study guide, then it won't be on the midterm. I only focus on what's on the study guide. So if it's not here, you don't have to study it. You don't have to worry about it. I will just focus on the stuff that I have written on this study guide. So let's quickly look over. So the chapters that we will be covering are chapters 1 through 8. And again, check out your textbook, use the modules, use the lecture notes, the videos the recordings that I have like done on our Zoom lectures, all of that stuff. You can look it over to help you study for your exam. So for chapters 1 and 2, I want you to study what are the types of human communication, what are the parts of the monologue communication, and what are the canons of rhetoric. Those are in chapters 1 and 2. For chapters 3 and 4, I want you to look at what is public speaking anxiety. So when we talked about the different types of anxiety and what is it, I also want you to review what is plagiarism and know the different types of plagiarism. That's really important. I covered that in, I believe, in the first week of the school, first or second week. So make sure to review that and check that out. If not, the chapters are 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 over here. So I also provided the chapter numbers at the very top of the sections for the study guide so that you can just quickly refer to your textbook and be able to answer the questions using your textbook. For chapters 5 and 6, I want you to answer the questions between listening and hearing. Tell me a little bit about audience analysis. What is it? What's the purpose of it? What are demographics and why are demographics useful? And then also what are attitudes, beliefs, and values? I remember that a couple of weeks ago on our Zoom lecture, I talked about attitudes, beliefs, and values. So I want you to go ahead and review that. Again, the lecture has been recorded and it's online here on the module on Canvas, so check that out. And then chapter 7 and 8, what is the difference between a general and specific purpose? And what are the different types of evidence that you can use for your speech? So those are everything that I want you to kind of like go over for the midterm. So again, make sure that you go through your book, go through your through the notes that you have, the lectures and the modules, and that will help you prepare for the midterm. And again, I'm the type of person that I tell you exactly what I'm going to be testing you on. However, my exams tend to be a little bit on the tricky side in the sense that you need to know the difference between all of these things. You need to have studied these topics that I have on the study guide really well, and you need to be able to differentiate and apply it to things. If you only know the definition, it might not help you. You need to actually understand what the definition means so that you're able to apply it to the questions and concepts that I will put on the midterm. But again, it's not something that is extremely hard. It is multiple choice. You have 25 questions. Each question is worth 2 points. So it's true or false, multiple choice. So it's not something that it is super hard out of this world. It's just to make sure that you are doing your reading and you're following along. The thing that is going to weigh your grade a whole lot more in this class is your delivery and speeches. So make sure that you get your speeches in on time, that you deliver them as best as you can. And if you're doing that, then you're going to do well in the class. So that's everything that I wanted to go over today. There is really nothing else that I want to go over today, just because this week is a speech week. So I want you all to put all of your energy on recording that speech, creating the outline, submitting it on time. But I want to remind you that next week we are actually going to take our midterm. We're going to talk about delivering of speeches. We're also going to be talking about delivery of speeches. We're going to be talking about visual aids, and we are entering the second major speech of the class, which is the informative speech. Your topic approval for the informative speech is also due next week, and your informative speech delivery is the week after that. So from now on, since next week is week 5, we're going to start moving quite faster since we only have 3 weeks left until the end of the semester. So if you're having trouble doing speeches or just following along, shoot me an email. I'd love to set an appointment with you through Zoom so that we can rehearse and work together on this. So with that being said, you're free to go for today. Please, please, please take all of this time that I'm giving you that I didn't lecture and just use it to craft your speech and do a good job. I hope you're all doing well and that you're taking care of yourselves, and I will see you all next week. I can't wait to hear your speeches.